A lot of people like to make the comment that things nowadays aren't as good as they used to be in the past. And one of the most common sentiments you'll hear that with is in regards to animation, cartoons, kids, stuff, anything along those lines. They'll be like, oh, the TV that's on good today isn't as good as the TV it was back in the day. And for the most part, it's true. A lot of the legacy people like Steven Spielberg and all of them have stepped away from the spotlight. So you're not going to get shows like Animaniacs or Freakazoid anymore. But it's also extremely true when it comes to kids' movies. So if you're watching an animated movie in theaters right now, chances are you're going to be sitting there like, oh, this doesn't feel nearly as good as the stuff I used to watch as a kid. And the reason why is because one guy wrote almost everything you ever liked. That's why. His name is Don Bluth. And Don Bluth did all the crazy movies like Secret of the Nymph, All Dogs Go to Heaven, An American Tail. He did A Troll in Central Park. He did A Land Before Time. He did Rockadoodle. He did everything. He did everything. And it was one man's genius designed all these amazing movies that we got to enjoy as kids. And it's pretty interesting because he had this knack for a very specific type of narrative. He was a firm believer that kids weren't as dumb as you thought they were, and all of his stories have like a very realistic sad element to it, like a family member or an orphan or anything. And he actually made the way he became famous was that he worked for Disney during their heyday, like during their prime. Like he worked on Sleeping Beauty, he worked on Robin Hood, he worked on The Rescuers. Like he was one of the key elements to Disney's success back in the day. And we all love those movies. Those movies have aged really well. There was no secrets thrown into the animation. There was no like agenda or anything like that. It was just good storytelling. And when he worked for Disney, he eventually branched off on his own. He made he did Disney, and then he worked for Filmation during the time frame when they were making stuff like it was during the 60s. So what would that be? That'd be like Birdman and all of that kind of stuff. So he did that. And then after he left Filmation, he started his own company. And during the 80s, he started pumping out some of the best franchises we never knew was associated with one man. And it's great. It's absolutely great. His stuff is classic. It's a time where almost everything was made by the same guy. There's only a few movies that he didn't make. Like he didn't make like the what was it? The We're Back. He didn't make that. Like he made a couple other ones, but he did almost every good movie. And what's crazy about it is that he's also worked on a couple of like video games. Like he did the animation for Dragon's Lair, which is the core feature of that game is that we've all seen that animation. We've all loved that animation. And he did the Dragon's Lair animation. And after he did his own studios in the 80s and 90s, everything like, blockbuster after blockbuster after blockbuster. He did Anastasia, he did Titan AE, and eventually he decided to just retire from the looks of it, and he ended up working for Fox. And he worked for Fox Animation for a little bit, and then he just drifted off into obscurity. So yeah, all the videos and movies that you watch nowadays are different. They're not the same. They're not going to be even close to some of these other stories. Like I can't find anything remotely as good as this at all, or Rockadoodle. And it's because of Don Bluth. And if you ever want to watch some of the best movies you've ever seen, Google his name. Google his name, go down the list, because he's had his hand in almost everything that you found amazing in the 90s and early 2000s. Well, 80s too. 80s, 90s, 2000s. So, Don Bluth. He's the reason why your cartoons and your movies aren't nearly as good as you remember. Because he's a legend. That's it.